I realized I hadn't spoken much about these flowers. So let me tell you a little bit more. Obviously, over here, these are sunflowers, and they're doing better and better. They're starting to form heads, though, which is a little concerning. Makes me think they're going to be pretty short, but they'll still be pretty. These, of course, are your cosmos. You can see the cool bud that they get. They're very frilly type of plant. Let me find you one that's actually open. So that's what they look like when they're open. And here's a white version. And what you do with them, and a lot of people will say, oh, well, don't plant cosmos, because once you have cosmos, you'll have cosmos forever. And I don't personally see having volunteer flowers as a problem. So you'll let the flowers stay on there if you want it to go to seed, if you want it to come back. You let the flowers stay on there, and this seed pod will eventually, when it dries up, drop down to the ground, or you can collect the seeds if you'd like to go that way. You get a variety of colors: purple, pink, white. I have some, actually, let me show you. There's some cool striped ones, which I particularly like. These ones that have the colored edges. But they're really pretty. They don't seem to attract a whole lot of pests. They do become a little bit of a trap plant for the Japanese beetle. But they seem to do fine pretty much no matter what. So this other plant in front of me, and you'll see all the little, I guess, little kind of like peach pit looking things. So this is the balsam plant, which I've talked about a lot. You know, the cottage garden flower that has this almost pea-like looking flower. But once the flowers die, you get these pods. And these are seed pods. And what will happen is, as those go from green to brown and dry up, they actually become super sensitive. They're kind of spring-loaded. So once they turn brown and are ready to release their seed, if something brushes past them, that little pod will actually explode and all of the seeds will come out. So I'll try to remember to show you that when they do get to that point, because it's really cool. But they come in all kinds of colors. They have a really pretty scent. I don't know exactly how to describe it. Maybe a little bit minty. But I really think that they help keep flies away. So mayflies, horseflies, they seem to emit a smell that they don't like, which is lovely. And then keeping on down, of course, you have your zinnias, which I guess just about every garden in this area is going to have zinnias. And the neat thing about zinnias is that they're super easy to save their seed because there's lots of it. So this flower, every single one of these petals goes down to a seed that lives in this base section here. So if you cut this flower and take it into your house and it starts to dry up and you're thinking about throwing it out, go ahead, you can take it out of the vase, but then lay it out somewhere where it can dry all the way and save those seeds. At the end of the season, if these are starting to dry up, you can actually just come through and clip all the little tops, take them inside and let them dry, and you'll have a multitude of seeds for the next year. They're doing really well. They're super happy. We had, almost 2 inches of rain here last night, which is kind of interesting because I don't live here, but at my house, which is only about 15 minutes away, we had almost 4 inches of rain. So quite a bit of disparity in our accounts. Check out this cool little bug. I'll have to see what he is. He or she. Neat little thing. But see, he's going in and pollinating each of those little individual flowers, which is pretty neat. And look, there's For people who say they don't plant cosmos, little bees are loving it, which means you're attracting pollinators to your garden, which is never a bad thing. Here's a really pretty white balsam, which I had never seen until this year, and now I have a whole bunch of it. The celosia we talked about before, that was really tiny, starting to get really big and beautiful. It's very coral-like. So these are seeds. These were from seeds that I saved last year. I had bought a huge celosia flowers from an Amish auction, and they were gorgeous. I had them on my counter, and then all of a sudden I had these little black specks everywhere. And I looked at them closer. They weren't bugs, so I decided they were seeds, saved them, and mixed them in with my flowers this year. And so far I've had quite a few of them pop up, which is awesome because I didn't really do a whole lot of work. There's also some little wildflowers down in here. You see these little blue. No idea what they are. I'll have to check on that for you. And these were, you probably noticed, if you were here last week or the weeks before, you probably noticed that you could see way less flowers before. And that it looked really jungly. And that's because it was loaded with these weeds. And so I just weeded this flower bed, well, my version of weeding. And so if you're someone who maybe has some mobility issues, you're older, or you're just like me and you're young and have too many things on your plate and you don't like being out in the heat and the bugs and just need to get something done and move on, then here's my favorite way to weed. I like to wait until the weeds are taller than whatever they're around and then cut them as far as you can. So come out with a pair of kitchen scissors, and like here's one of the weeds that I was cutting. And what I would do is go way down here towards the bottom and just snip it with my scissors. And you could drop it right there where it is. I chose to drop it in my walkway so I have some mulch, and you'll see way down there. And the reason I do it that way, well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, the biggest problem with weeds is letting them go to seed. That means letting them flower, letting them reproduce. As soon as you do that, you have years and years and years more of fighting that same weed. So if you go ahead and cut them before they go to seed, they haven't reproduced, the plant will die come winter, and you're over and done with it. I don't pull them up, number one, because these were so big, it would take me a shovel and an act of God to get them out of the ground, and I didn't want to damage the flowers around them. So instead, I just cut them down as far as I can, and you'll see, so like this one, I had cut before, and see nothing grown back. It's drying up, and that's it. That's just what I've found is the easiest way for me to deal with weeds. I don't like going in and picking out all the little bitty weeds, and just, it's too tedious. So you'll see here's a whole bunch that I cut the tops off of. We'll keep an eye on them and see what happens. But they're now mulch, and they haven't bloomed. They haven't gone to seed. They actually made a really nice mulch layer for me, but allowed my flowers to get some air and some sunlight and be way more beautiful than they were. So that's my tip for weeds. Bring out your kitchen scissors, chop them at whatever height you can, throw them down, walk on them, whatever you want to do with them. Feed them to an animal if there's something that's edible, and just get back to enjoying your flowers. Don't stress about it. The green beans aren't looking too great, mainly because they've been manhandled so many times getting them picked. But if you'll look, they're actually starting to bloom again. So we should have another batch coming. Need to get out here and pick them real clean. So what that means is you get any bean that's on them off. A lot of the beans are overgrown. because it's just been too hot to be out here picking them. So like, that's a beautiful one. But I've seen some that are what I call seed beans, and that's just where they've gotten so big that you really should just dry them and take the seed out for next year. Like here's one right here. Well, that's not too bad. Here's a big one. That's more of like a seed bean, so you'll take the seeds out from the inside there. But we'll try and get out here and cut them real clean so that, pick them real clean so that these blooms will maybe do something. Because look, we even have new little baby ones, which is pretty unheard of this time of year. Usually the plants are dying off and that's that. So we'll let them go as long as they will. Even though I have to say, pretty tired of picking green beans, pretty tired of canning green beans. But it's a blessing and we're definitely thankful for it. It's the first time we've had green beans this good in, oh, probably as long as I can remember. So can't complain and just need to do the work and stock the shelves and be definitely grateful for it come winter. So let's see what we can get into next. The butter beans are looking great. Still have a little ways to go, probably about 2 weeks before we'll be able to pick them. But if you look right here, can you see the beans shining through there? Let's see. Can you see them? That's called nature's x-ray, or that's what people like to call it. And you can see, hopefully you can see the little beans peeking through. Let's see if I can find a better one. You might can see on these better with the sun behind them. See the little beans? And these are still blooming, but they're looking great. Like I said, probably about 2 weeks, we'll be picking and shelling some butter beans. The peanuts are looking nice and great. They're getting really bushy. And I wanted to show you, so remember how we talked about those little tendrils that go down in the ground and that's what makes the peanut? Well, if you can see down in here, see this white stick looking thing, and there's another one right beside it? That will eventually have a peanut on the end of it. It doesn't yet, so I'm going to cover it back up. But that will eventually be where the peanut forms. And that's a nice, strong looking tendril there, so I see no reason why we shouldn't have some peanuts on it shortly. If you look, the cotton has exploded. It's now taller than most of the grass. I haven't seen, oh look, there's a bud. So we'll be having, this is their little bud right here, there's several of them. So we'll be having some cotton not too much longer. Cotton is a really, really slow growing plant. So it'll be really fall before we see those. But great to see that they're there and doing so well. And then this next row, you'll remember this had, sorry, big bug. You'll remember this had our potatoes in it. We've harvested all of those. Gave this a really good tilling last week. And my dad planted pumpkins. And way down here at the end, and I don't know what varieties he planted, but for some reason, when you get down here towards the end, they actually grew. And it looks like every seed came up. I don't know why they didn't grow in the first bit of the garden. I'll have to ask him if they were two different kinds of seed, because we may have to replant that first bit. But this second bit, it looks like every seed's come up all the way down there, so that's great. That's exciting. The sweet potatoes are looking good. Starting to run. There is some kind of little pest cutting holes in it, so I'll have to do some looking. Let's see if it's that little pest. But I'll do some looking and see if I can find out what that is and what we need to do about it. And marigolds, still looking great. They've got some, what are they called? Some morning glories mixed in now. And then the basil has gone nuts. I don't know if you can see the basil. All this is basil. And I picked that really short last week and put that in my spaghetti sauce, and it's gone crazy again. So I'll have to pick some more for sure. Tomatoes are starting to bloom again, which is great if we can keep the plants healthy enough that they do something. Like, look at this basil. It's just going crazy. Which is great. If you'll remember, those were the sad little transplants that I dug up from over in the other row where I didn't think they were doing very well. And this has been the year that transplants have done really well. If you look at this patch of marigolds, they are absolutely gorgeous. I really like these red and orange stripy ones. And you can smell them in this heat. And that's great. So you're probably getting tired of hearing about squash bugs, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them. So if you remember, these two that were up here, these two zucchinis that are up here, you can't really see, there's only a stalk left of one of them. Squash bugs got them really quick. They were the dark green zucchini variety, and now we have another casualty. This is one of the Black Beauty zucchinis, but I'm thinking that this is a casualty because it's been so dry. Because this row that this one's in is not irrigated, because it had potatoes in it. So I didn't want my potatoes to rot, so I didn't irrigate down here. Now its counterpart over here that's being irrigated looks fine. But if you'll notice, if you look close, the Black Beauty variety now has these little guys. So I'll do some research and find out what those are. I think I know what they are, but I don't want to tell you wrong. So I'll make sure. But then this beside here, this I believe was one of the, let's see. I believe it was also one of the dark green zucchinis, and it's just managed to last because it was over a little bit further. But we'll go around here and look at the squash. And if you'll see, this zucchini is actually still blooming, which is great. That means we'll have some more zucchini coming in. They have slowed down quite significantly, but it's been real hot and real dry. So if you look over here, we do have a squash casualty down in there. What looks like the beginnings of some squash casualties going on. But honestly and truly, at this point, we've had enough squash to fill the freezers and the shelves, so I'm not too worried about it. There is quite a bit of kind of some rot going on. You can see it down in there too. I'll do some research and see if I can figure out what that is. But if you'll look at this plant, so squash is very much, even though they're kind of bushy appearing, they're still very much a vine. So if you look at this plant, let's see if I can show you good. So you can see right here, see how it comes out of the ground down in here, and then it comes up and it follows very much like a pumpkin vine, and that keeps going around the corner and on over into there. So what's happening, I believe, is this early part of the plant is just dying. So these yellowing leaves and stuff, they're just done. So I need to bring some snippers and cut them off, because if you look, the newer part of the plant is nice and green and even has quite a few baby squash down in there. So I'm going to bring some snippers and cut those off and see if my theory is true. If you'll see, There's a giant squash over here that got missed, but that's all right. He'll still eat. And our little squash bug friends still here and around, but don't seem to be bothering these plants. I think they are definitely here and obviously reproducing, but they don't seem to be pestering these. Now here's a casualty, and I'm not sure what this one's casualty is, what the cause of death on this one is. Doesn't look like anything obvious to me. But, like I said, we still have these other ones going strong. And you'll see a bunch of squash down in there. And a tomato I threw over here. And then we have our new little ones that are starting to take hold. There's a new one right in here. So I'll get these dead ones out of the way so that these little baby ones can take off. But I think really and truly for this time of year, they're doing great. So I'm going to get to picking. And I'll be back. The peppers are looking really good. You actually see some jalapenos turning red down in there. I think there's actually looks like poblanos are looking great. They're getting nice and big. Here's an actual really good size one. It's got one in the way. The pimentos must have reached full size. They're starting to change color. You see this one right here. Tons of these purple peppers. They're super prolific. My red peppers finally got one almost full size here. So I must not be getting them the water that they need. So hopefully after this almost inch of rain yesterday, that'll be enough to boost them up. But everything's looking good. They're actually going to bloom again. See there? And also have some little baby peppers going on. So that's great to see. That means we'll just continue our harvest. The biggest thing is just keeping the plants healthy at this point. Keeping the bugs and diseases away. I haven't noticed any pests with these. I think the biggest thing has just been that it's been dry. So if we can get to some rainier weather, I think we'll have oodles of peppers. I wanted to show you while I'm out here picking this morning these mountain fresh tomatoes. So I've never grown these before. I've never grown this variety, but they have gone crazy. Like, look at this tomato. Absolutely gorgeous. Nothing wrong with it. No blossom end rot. No nothing. Beautiful tomato, and it's loaded with them. So this will definitely be a variety that I try again. Because, I mean, even over here, like, you can see down in there, see all those? Like, that's wild. And then they have all these little babies up here at the top, and even some blooms. So even though it's been hot as everything and dry, it's doing great. So that'll definitely be one I'll try again next year. Also, not having any blight issues really. These over here, now granted, that one was staked up really well because it's right there at the post. These other ones, the wind blew over and they were just too big for me to fix without breaking the plants. So these do have some blight. You'll see kind of some yellowing and shriveling up going on there. I haven't seen any tomato hornworms, and I assume that's because of my lovely marigold hedge that's running right alongside these, which is great. We are starting to see, because of the wet and dry, see the cracking on top of those tomatoes. It's perfectly fine. It's just might make them spoil a little bit faster. There is some sunburn, so if you look right here, that's what that is. That's sunburn on those tomatoes. Because they've fallen over, they don't have any shade. And it's been so hot that they're not doing well. So I'm going to get them picked here in a minute and get them out the way. The little sun gold, orangey yellow cherry tomatoes, just steady going. They're happy as can be. Also these Juliettes, these are kind of I guess I would call them more of like a plum-sized tomato. But they're great. Neither one have been given any trouble in this weather. These are on the drip tape, so they do get 2 hours of rain every night. But looking great. The paste tomatoes, not looking as great, but it's because they fell over. They're kind of become more of a wild patch now. But I still see plenty down in there. So I'm going to get them off. Look, there's a bunch right in there. I'm going to get them off and get them in the bucket, take them home, let them all get perfectly ripe, and then be back to canning. I canned spaghetti sauce yesterday, and I should have showed you how I did that, but looks like I'll have plenty to do some more, so I'll show you that when I get to it. Well, I'm going to get to picking, and I'll show you what I have here at the end. I came back out to look at these watermelons because I'm certain that now that we have this many blooms and these plants have run this much, that we're bound to have a baby watermelon. So let's see if we will be successful. The little pollinators down in there. Let's look. So if you'll see, oh, look. Bigger than I expected. Look at that. There's already, wow, okay. There's already a round one. Get them up here. They're kind of in a little trough right there, and I don't want them to rot. But they're supposed to be long, skinny watermelons, so I'm not sure what the story is on that round one. But, oh look, here's a littler one. See? It's got little tiny stripes on it. That's awesome. So we'll be having watermelons to watch every week. And probably in about a month, we'll be picking some watermelons. That is, if all goes right. So it's time to get in here and pick some corn. But you'll see the blonde down there at the bottom? Those ones aren't ready yet. They're the ones that were a little behind. But if you look down here, this one, see how dark and shriveled up these are, and how they've kind of lost some of their silks? These are the ones that we want. So what you do is you just grab it and kind of twist and pull at the same time. And there you go. Beautiful ear corn. And what I'm going to do is stick them in this bucket right here. And then when I get up to the house, I'm going to fill the bucket up with some cold water. Because the biggest thing you want to do with corn is you want to get it chilled quickly. So if I had some ice, I'd put some ice on it, but I don't have any ice. So I'm going to get it nice and chilled down, and that preserves the sugars and ensures that you have nice, beautiful, sweet corn. I'm going to try and show you the sunflowers from inside the corn because they are all facing the sun, which happens to be this direction at the moment. But you can see the bumblebee on that one? I don't know what variety those are, but they're very thin petals, which is interesting. And if you keep going down here, you'll see the ones that I like, which I like the lemon queens a lot, but I really like these little crimson ones. I think they're gorgeous. My lemon queens are kind of finishing up. There's some way up there. But they're a paler yellow, so you'll see here. They're a pale yellow and not a real big flower, so about the size of your palm maybe, a little bit bigger. But you see them all down through here. There's a cool one. And I was a little bit worried that they weren't going to do well because it was so dry. But now we've got some rain and they have taken off. So here's your seed pods. So this is where your sunflower seed actually comes from. And you can see the birds have actually scavenged this one already. So these openings right here, all those little honeycomb looking things used to have a seed. And the birds have come and scavenged them and taken the seeds. And what's interesting, sometimes on the larger sunflowers, which I don't have any at the moment, but on the larger sunflowers, the birds will actually sit on top of the seed pod of the flower head, and they'll reach under and grab the seed and bring it back up on top to eat it. And you'll find on your larger seed heads, flower heads, that there will be a whole bunch of shells, sunflower shells on top, and that's where the birds have gotten up there and had a feast. You can actually see in this one, so this is a pretty cool view. So you can see the seeds, so the white, let's see if I can show you. So the round white parts, those are the forming seeds, and you can see that the center of a sunflower is made up of a whole bunch of baby flowers. And those have to be pollinated, which is why these are buzzing with bees and things. Those have to be pollinated in order to fertilize that seed to make a new sunflower next year. And here's another view. So this one, for some reason, the tops of these, and it may have been a bird that's peeled the top off there. But that's pretty neat to be able to see kind of an x-ray version there. I'm going to keep on down this way. So these are some little bitty ones. Still gorgeous. You see all the ends of the seeds in the center there? All those little X's are little seeds. And we'll keep on down this way without trying to break anything. Sorry for the camera work. I'm dodging corn and sunflowers. So here's some more of these little crimson guys. I have to get out here and save some seeds before the birds get them all. Those are definitely my favorite. They're like a sunset. Loads more lemon queens going down the way there. But thankfully, our sunflowers have caught back up and are gonna do something. We've had, my guess is probably a raccoon in the corn. So he's coming and helping in the harvest. You see he comes and has a little feast. This one actually doesn't bother me too much because he's actually eating the the corn cob. A lot of times they will knock it on the ground, peel it, take one bite, and then go on to another one. And this one seems to be a little bit maybe older and wiser, and will sit and eat the whole cob. So he doesn't bother me as much. Over here, you can see these are still very much more in bloom than the ones on the other side. This balsam. Flowers on this side, definitely not getting the sun and energy that they needed. Way less of a bunch of flowers. A little more variety though, which is interesting. This here is a plant that actually was more than likely planted here years ago. This is called Lespedeza. And it's grown as a kind of like alfalfa. It's a very high protein content hay. So if you were going to feed your cattle or horses or whatnot, it would have a whole lot of protein. Here's one up closer. It's a pretty plant. My dad hates it, so he's out on a mission to get rid of it. Oh, cool. Check this out. Look at this flower. Look at that. That's beautiful. I have to see what that is. But anyways, Lespedeza, if you're looking for high protein count, and super easy to grow, at least here in Zone 7B, then that's your one to go for. So we'll see. beautiful zinnia, and that one has been fully pollinated. This one's still waiting. And then we have a beautiful orange one, which orangey red's not a color you typically see. So I'm grateful to have those for sure. But anyways, I've probably rambled on long enough now to have made you disappear. But if you have stuck around, I'm grateful for you. I hope you've been able to get something from this. Hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you've taken something away. If you already garden, maybe you learned something. If you don't already garden, maybe I'll inspire you to give it a try. Thanks for coming along. It's a beautiful day out here today. It's heavily overcast, which is very nice for a change. We've been in the heat indexes of over 100 for probably 2 weeks now. So today being only in the low 90s is absolutely amazing. Being overcast, it was sprinkling a little bit earlier. Finally got a good rain. So everything's just doing really well. Very appreciative. Beautiful day to be out and about. So I'll leave you with the sounds of the farm. Everything's super excited because we got so much rain and it's cooler. So you'll probably hear a lot of sounds you haven't heard before. So turn your sound up, give it a listen, and see what you hear.